I sat down with House Majority Leader Steve Scalise for his first ever News Nation interview. I asked about the DHS shakeup and the Democrats' latest attempt to rein in Trump's authority in Iran. Take a look. Thank you so much for coming in today. We appreciate it.
Well, it's great to be on your show, and congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thanks for walking across the street to see us. Of course, there's been a lot of news today, one of them being the House just voted down the War Powers Resolution. Tell us about that vote. It was essentially forced by Democrats, and how you voted and what your assessment of the situation is.
Yeah, I voted no, and it was really important that we defeated and understand this was a resolution to stop the president from being able to engage in activities against Iran. And look, we've all been clear. Everybody knows Iran's been the largest state sponsor of terror. They've been engaging in war against us for decades. Katie, you know about this. You've talked about it. They've killed hundreds of Americans. And so a lot of presidents have talked about not only stopping Iran from engaging in a nuclear weapons program, they've still, even after Operation Midnight Hammer, they were trying to enrich uranium. They started to rebuild the program. They made it crystal clear, even in the recent negotiations, they did not want peace. They did not want to stop working towards a nuclear weapon. And by at the same time, they had killed tens of thousands of their own people. And President Trump looked at all this and said, why would we want these crazy people having a nuclear weapon? They will kill us. And they say, chant death to America. We ought to take them at their word. We ought to make sure the president has all the capabilities he needs to protect America. And that's exactly what President Trump's doing.
Today, Azerbaijan and Turkey became the targets. What do you think is next in terms of Iran's move as the United States gains air superiority over the country and as countries in the Middle East come together to fight against Iran, which is something that we have never seen?
Yeah, true. Some unbelievable tactical mistakes made early off on day one by Iran to go, as you mentioned, and attack some of the neighboring countries that weren't even involved, didn't even want to be part of what was initially the United States and Israel in this partnership. Now you've got a whole lot of other countries in the region all joining up against Iran, which had not happened before. And it's further isolated Iran. Their top leaders are all dead now, and whoever pops up to be the next, try to be the next leader, is also going to face the same fate. Ultimately, what I think we all want to see is for the people of Iran who yearn for freedom and have for decades, for them to be able to take their country back.
Back here at home, President Trump decided to shake up his cabinet today. He said that Secretary Kristi Noem was going to move into a new position. He nominated Senator Mark Wayne Mullen from the great state of Oklahoma. You, of course, served with him when he was a member of on the House side. Let's take a look at Noem's exchange this week with Senator John Kennedy first to give some background on how this maybe came to be. Take a listen.
How do you square that concern for waste, which I share, with the fact that you have spent $220 million running television advertisements that feature you prominently?
Sir, the president tasked me with getting the message out to the country and to other countries where we were seeing the invasion come from, with putting commercials out that told them that if they were in this country illegally, that they needed to leave.
So the president is reportedly furious that she said he approved those ads. Here's one of them, and then we'll get your reaction.
You cross the border illegally, we'll find you. Break our laws, we'll punish you. Harm American citizens, there will be consequences. But if you come here the right way, your American dream can be as big as these endless skies.
So your reaction to the move, no, moving into a new position, and of course your former colleague in the House now being nominated for this position, which he seemed kind of surprised about. It happened very quickly. Yeah,
and I mean, we're talking about two former House colleagues that served in the House with Kristi Noem, served in the House with Mark Wayne Mullen. And look, Kristi had an incredibly difficult job. One of the top issues, probably the top issue in 2024 was border security, and that was President Trump's top theme everywhere he went, every place you went to. And I went with the president to campaign in a number of places, and border was the top issue, whether it was a border town or in the middle of America. And President Trump immediately set out to fix that problem. And of course, he asked Christie to run that agency, and she did. But it was always a tough job. And you had governors and mayors, as we saw in Minnesota, who were fighting her every step of the way, who did not want to comply, sanctuary cities, harboring criminals, judges that were giving bad rulings. And so it was always a difficult job. And yet we have a secure border now. And President Trump, I think you saw the writing on the wall. He wanted to take a different approach when he brought Tom Homan in to Minnesota. That was, I think, a telltale signal that now we're moving to a new phase in this. And Mark Wayne Mullen, who's a very capable person. I mean, he's been strongly with us on all the border security measures we've done. Work and Families Tax Cut, we put a lot of provisions in to strengthen the president's ability to build the wall, to give our Border Patrol agents tools they need to go secure the border and to compete with the drug cartels, which they were not able to do under Biden. So all of that's in place now. He's going to inherit a really strong agency with a task to keep us safe and to secure our border.
Well, speaking of the bad guys, of course, there are parts of DHS that Democrats refuse to fund, even under the heightened threat of the Iran war. The FBI has lifted their counterterrorism efforts to a high alert as well. We had the attack over the weekend in Austin, Texas, with the assailant wearing allegedly an Iranian regime flag. Why is it that Democrats refuse to fund parts of DHS? You had Chuck Schumer, of course, Senate Minority Leader, this afternoon saying that Mark Wayne Mullen also is an unacceptable choice to lead DHS. So why are Democrats in this position where they just will not fund these departments inside DHS at a time when the risk is very high?
Yeah, Katie, it just shows you right now the Democrat Party has lost their way. And they wake up every day, and if Donald Trump wakes up in the morning with a pulse, they want to stop everything he does. They want chaos in America. They're rooting against America on so many fronts. It's unbelievable and reckless. It's dangerous that they are voting, and we just had the vote on the House floor today. Almost every Democrat voted to keep the Department of Homeland Security shut down when we're under a heightened threat. That is a dangerous action for Americans. They don't want to keep Americans safe because they hate Donald Trump.
House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, thank you so much for coming in. Great
Thanks,
to
Katie.
see you.
Great to be with you.